Hey everybody, I'm Jona. Welcome back. Today I'm going to be looking at Grinning Trickster Stirs Up Trouble. It's one of the new spirits from the Jagged Earth Spirit Island expansion, and let me tell ya, he is a bit of a doozy. As his name suggests, he does cause lots of trouble and unpredictable, precarious situations for the adversary as well as your teammates and the Dahan. This spirit is a moderate in complexity. It also uses the strife tokens and the beast tokens quite readily throughout the game. In a previous video where I was talking about Vengeance is a Burning Plague, I mentioned how it might be easier to play that spirit if you played with the Branch and Claw expansion because it gives you those tokens to start with. But then someone commented that there's actually an option for playing without the events that they added in Jagged Earth that allows you to start with starting tokens on the board, in addition to giving you these spiffy cards that happen at different stages in the invaders cards, which allows you to kind of trigger damage with all the beast tokens that are out on the board. Thank you for drawing these little cards to our attention. Kind of just, started playing the spirits and didn't really check these out. This is a huge benefit, especially if you're not a fan of the event cards like us. Right off the bat with this guy, you know he's going to be tricky to play because of its special rules. Starting off, it has the ability to put out a strife whenever one of its powers allows it to. It can put out an additional strife on a neighboring land for 1 energy cost. In addition to that, it has this special rule where cleaning up messes is a drag, and when this spirit's power would remove a blight from the land, it loses a presence. This is a decidedly bad thing, as presence is always precious for the spirits, and this spirit has a couple abilities that have the potential to add additional blight. So yeah, like I said, it's tricky. For its innate powers, it actually has these great ones that you can start to trigger right away because they don't require a whole lot of different elements. For the first one, you just need a moon, a flame, and 2 wind, which you could easily achieve within your first play. And what this power does is it allows you to pull cards from the minor power deck until you get one that will target land. And whatever that text says will target the land that you've targeted. And it also makes the ors ands. So you get to do everything on the card. This has the potential for so many good things. But there are cards in the minor power deck that do bad things to the Dahan and add extra blight. So while it has the potential for greatness, it also has the potential for harm. Let's see what happens. Targeting this land. If target land has men, push all men. Otherwise, remove a blight. What am I doing this turn? Nothing. If you have additional elements of the moon, fire, and wind, you can also purchase those minor power cards that you flipped over and were able to use. You can actually purchase them for energy, for 1 extra energy, which is kind of a neat thing. However, I have to say, this guy is so starved for energy, I was never actually able to do this innate power because I just never had the energy on me to do it. Or the cards just weren't that great when I did. All right, also as its innate power, you can target a land, add an additional strife. You can cause 1 damage to each invader and Dahan. And you can also target a land that has the beast token to do 2 damage with those beast tokens. Otherwise, you just gather up the beast tokens. So there's a lot of different elements here that you can try to collect and trigger and do those different powers. For growth actions, the spirit allows for you to choose two. The first one is to reclaim your cards, and you can also move around an existing presence on the board. But the bummer is you have to pay an energy to reclaim those cards. So yeah, this guy is starved for cash, and you have this additional penalty of having to pay money to reclaim your cards. Like I said, tricky. It's just tricky. Everything about this spirit is tricky. The other options for growth are to add a presence to away from an existing presence, to gain a power card, and then you can choose the option to gain energy equal to the amount of cards played. That actually, I wasn't able to do very much. The energy track is very low. You have to put out all the presents on the energy track to gain a measly 3 energy per turn. So if you're going to play with the spirit, bear in mind who you're playing with. If someone is going to be picking a spirit that, is generous and can share energy with you, that will be very helpful. As for the rest of the presence tracks, you can play 3 cards after 3 presents. So that's nice. That gives you the ability to start igniting and triggering your innate powers, which are very interesting and have a lot of variety. And you can also, when you remove your second presence here, you can push Dahan from one of your lands. It's very helpful to be able to manipulate those Dahan with this spirit and be able to use them to their, their full potential to cause damage when you are able to prevent those houses and cities from ravaging. So the card that actually seems the most powerful that comes with this guy can destroy a house flat out, but there's a caveat. Then you have to discard the top card from the minor power deck. If that card reveals a flame element on it, then you get an extra fear. That's good. You get 2 more damage. That's great. And you add a blight. All right, the last card that is actually pretty awesome with no caveats is that one invader with a strife token deals damage to another invader, and then you also get to add an extra fear when you do that damage, in addition to killing a city or a town or whatever. This was cool. This was helpful. Knowing how this guy deals with blight or doesn't deal with blight, we did play with a spirit that can handle blight well and use it to its best ability. We used Stone's Unyielding Defiance, and that did work out pretty well, especially when our island got blighted, and then whenever blight was added to the board, you would lose a presence in that land, but also a presence in surrounding lands because of that spirit's ability not to lose its presence when blight's added in its land. That really saved us and held us through to the end of the game. I feel like when I look at this spirit, like my husband doesn't like this spirit at all. He's like, why would you play this when you can play pretty much any other spirit that doesn't have all these like negative caveats? And for me, when I looked at this spirit, this was the first spirit I played. As soon as we got Jagged Earth, I was like, I want to play this guy. He has that lottery feel to him, that like element of luck where you don't know what could happen. It could be great and it could not be great. He's risky, he's tricky. So it appealed to me. I just think it's another testimony to how they have tried to produce a game with replayability and diversity for all sorts of different players. For example, this spirit is very interesting to someone like me that likes push your luck games. So I feel like they kind of designed it with a push your luck sort of gambling type player in mind, and I appreciate that. I would say that he doesn't always produce an enjoyable game. The last time we played, we were towards the end of the game, the island was already blighted, and we were really honing in to losing. It was very close. We were down to like 2 blight after the island had already been blighted. And we had 2 fear cards to reveal. So my husband was like, you could either, flip that card over and risk having to put blight on the board, or we can just see what happens with the fear cards. Because as we all know, fear cards can be useless at times, but they're never negative. I actually did skip using that power that turn just to be on the safe side. So that's not necessarily fun when you have to just ignore what your spirit can do because it's just too much of a risk of losing the whole game. All right, well, those are my thoughts on the Grinning Trickster. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on it. Like, I feel like there's so much potential for really amazing moments with him, especially when you pull a card that would work perfectly for the situation you're in, but it's so unpredictable. And when you're playing Spirit Island and you're all working together and very invested in the effort to fight back the invaders, sometimes that unpredictability is annoying and might not be for everybody. It depends the mood that I'm in. I will go for him because I tend to like the push your luck sort of aspect in games. But there's so many awesome spirits that I would play before him that he's kind of a special occasion sort of spirit. Thanks everybody for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Crap, now I'm cascaded. I'm sorry, Daniel.